Hey folks, so there's some reviews going around about the Logitech Ergo Lift, this small vertical mouse from Logitech. I bought these two mice myself because I've been looking for a mouse to reduce my wrist strain. I use an ergonomic mouse, but nothing at the vertical level. I've tried vertical mice before, including this big one here, the MX Vertical. But when I saw this small one came out, I started doing a bunch of research, watching videos, reading reviews, and almost like out of a textbook, the conclusion that the reviewers are coming to is that the Ergo Lift is better for people with small hands. But small, folks, is a relative term. Some things are smaller than me. Some things are bigger than me, right? Like a moose. Okay, so what does it mean if it's smaller? I don't understand. What's a small hand? So I got a little frustrated and I bought, because I couldn't get a good conclusion, right? Like I've tried the MX Vertical. I found it uncomfortable. So do I spend the $70 to get the Ergo Lift? I don't know. So anyway, I went out and bought them. And as I was testing them out for the last several days, I realized that this should be a video because you may be out there as well wondering like, well, which mouse do I get, right? Like, what do I do? Like, it's smaller. What does that mean? So I was trying to find a relevant, quantifiable figure for you. And what I came up with, because, you hold a mouse, all of your wrist action is from, or your hand actions from the beginning of your wrist to the tip of your finger. Now, I'm not an ergonomicist, if that's even a term. I'm not a scientist. I'm just a dude who uses mice all the time. And from what I understand, having used a lot of mice, is that action really happens from the wrist up. So I think that's the relevant thing that should be measured. Now for me, it's 7.5 inches from the beginning of my wrist to the tip of my finger. 7.5 inches. I'm 5'11", so I'm not a giant. And I think that I have probably above average sized hands. So measure your hands before you run out and buy one of these mice. Here's the deal. These mice are very similar. A couple of minor differences. The Ergo Lift runs on battery. It's supposed to be a 2-year battery life. The MX Vertical runs off a rechargeable battery with USB-C charging, which is super cool. Both run off of dongles. There's no Bluetooth option. It does support the Logitech, I don't know what they call it, smart switch or something, where you can connect it to multiple devices, so that's cute. But the real question is, which one's going to be most comfortable for you? Now, for me, neither is comfortable. I've tried them both. I don't think I need a high level of precision for work. I certainly would for gaming, but I have other mice for that, and it doesn't occupy a lot of my time during the week, so I don't mind using a regular mouse for gaming. But for work, right, 8 hours a day or what have you, I want something super comfortable that's not going to put more strain on my wrist, right? Because I do enough, weightlifting and exercise and playing with my kids that, like, I just don't want a bad wrist anymore, right? I need to get over that. So anyhow, back to these two mice. There's one problem I have with both mice. Both. And that's the way that my wrist sits on the desk when I'm using it. So here I am using it, right? I'm standing right now. When I'm sitting, it's a little bit easier to do. But I find that my wrist right here, this spot, just rubs against the desk or the mouse pad. So what I have to do is kind of lift up like this. And that reduces my precision. And the same is true with this larger mouse. Now, on the one hand, with the larger mouse, it's a little bit easier to do that, to create that posture. I don't know if that posture is good, by the way, but at least you have the posture of being at the 57-degree angle. That's good, versus a regular mouse where you're at 38 degrees or something. That sounded really precise. I really don't know. So anyhow, if you can remember to keep your wrist up or get some kind of prop to keep your forearm up, I think you won't have the discomfort that I'm talking about. But I also don't think it's uncommon, because I remember a couple years back I did a review on the Razer ProClick, which is my primary mouse, and I found that comparing that to the MX Master from Logitech, I was also rubbing my wrist against the desk with the MX Master, but not with the Razer ProClick. So maybe it's a Logitech thing and just the way my hands are shaped. But anyhow, keep that in mind if you're looking at these vertical mice. You may need to get some kind of prop, but you don't want that prop to follow you, because then you're just it's going to drag against the prop, right? So you want it to be prone and then have minimal movement on the desk when you're using this. Now I've got an ultra wide 34-inch here and then a 27-inch display over there. I've got a lot of distance to travel. So play with the sensitivity of the pointer as well. There's really not much in terms of a DPI meter here. I mean, you do have a DPI switch right there and a DPI switch right here. So you can adjust it, but it's nothing like at the precision level of a gaming mouse, right? So you may have to play with that, fiddle with it a little bit to find a way to move the mouse that's comfortable, that doesn't require too much like actual physical movement, if that makes sense. You don't want to travel too much with your mouse, because then it may just may exacerbate the problem. So $100 for the MX Vertical, $70 for the Ergo. A huge advantage, in my opinion, of the Ergo is it's quieter. Hear how quiet that is? Probably hear it better if I don't talk. Listen. I wish the larger one were as quiet as the smaller one, because I would be willing to give it more time to see and try to find a prop to see if I can make it work with the larger one. It's more comfortable for me in my 7.5-inch hand versus the smaller one. The smaller one just drags too much, but it's so much quieter that I prefer to use it. Hope that makes sense. So anyhow, you may be looking at these mice and trying to figure out what the reviewers mean by this is good for small hands and this is good for big hands. 7.5 inches, tip of the finger to the wrist. In my opinion, again, I'm not an ergonomicist. I made up that word, I think. But yeah. The good thing is you buy it from Amazon or Best Buy, you can always return it. So, well, not always. You have a return window that's reasonable. So put that to work. Try to find something that works for you. And best of luck on your journey trying to figure out which mouse to use. Cheers.